Greetings, everyone, and welcome to monastics, friends, and neighbors to the St. Louis area Action to Feed the Hungry. My name is Lenora, and on behalf of the Buddhist Council of Greater St. Louis, we are so grateful to the amazing team at Buddhist Global Relief for coordinating with us to bring you this wonderful program today. This is St. Louis's 7th year of fundraising for Buddhist Global Relief, and we are so proud of our efforts to help this outstanding charity. Of course, we're missing today our outdoor walk with our friends that have been held the past several years at Tower Grove Park. As the Buddha taught us, all situations are temporary and subject to change. Impermanence is what is certain. So our Buddhist practice is training for realizing that change is something to be adapted to, and that clinging to the idea of everything staying the same is not a beneficial use of our time and energy. Unfortunately, hunger is one crisis that does seem to be a challenge that humanity is facing for the foreseeable future. And BGR's efforts are aimed at alleviating the causes of this dilemma in a dignified way that helps the individuals suffering this calamity have control over their lives and their situations. Buddhist Global Relief supports projects that help the hungry help themselves through education, job, and small business support and training, and crop growing initiatives to maximize yields. These beneficial efforts are supported by people like you and I, whose financial donations make this outreach possible. Every donation, no matter how small, has a great impact on these programs that help those suffering from hunger. The link to donate is buddhistglobalrelief.org/donate. If you visit their website, you will see a donate button. And this link will also be displayed on a slide here and there in our presentation today. There's also a mailing address in New York where you can mail a check if you're old school, kind of like me sometimes, and prefer not to send a virtual donation. We have a really packed program today, so we'll jump right into it. I'd like to introduce my friend, Dr. Kongsak Tanpachir, President of the Buddhist Council of Greater St. Louis. He's going to share how 2020 has been a year that the Buddhist Council has dedicated efforts to help feed the hungry locally. Dr. Kongsak?
Thank you. Good afternoon. I have some slides to share. Hope it come up. Okay, you all see the slide? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Basically, I want to address what Buddhist Council of Greater St. Louis basically founded in June of 1999, 21 years ago. And we are kind of a collaborative effort among various Buddhist organizations, close to about 20 groups in the greater St. Louis region, aiming to promote cooperation among St. Louis Buddhists and to share the awakened way of life with all beings. How do I run that? Okay, and we have 4 major activities that we been doing each year. We meet monthly to organize those meetings annually. The first one is Mindfulness Day Seminar. Second is Socially Engaged Buddhism. Mindfulness Day is in August of each year, and Socially Engaged Buddhism is in March, and then Vesak Day we do in spring, about May or June, and Walk to Feed the Hungry around end of October or so. And out the first two, the Vesak Day and Mindfulness Day, we raised fund because of the pandemic, COVID pandemic. We basically raised fund through those activities to help support St. Louis area food bank. And we raised total of $3,400. And basically that feed 1,200 meals. $1, they can stretch to 4 meals. Supposedly St. Louis area food bank serve up to 5 million meals a month. And they help organize over 1,000 drive-through that you see on television in St. Louis area. And since 2013, we joined forces with Buddhist Global Relief and have been doing Walk to Feed the Hungry. We already did 7 of them. As a matter of fact, this will be the 8th year. And basically, as you see there, it's helped to provide food aid and stimulate agriculture. Something could come on my screen. Okay. And basically, we raised about 24,000 for the past 7 years. Basically, when we have done this, there's some study about when you give generosity, it's a sign of compassion in action. And basically, a study from Zurich, Switzerland said when you're generous or giving, there's altruistic behavior. It's make you happier and less stress to your life. And surprisingly, when you give a little, it's equal to give a lot. But don't let that deter you to be generous today in giving. And it affects long-term well-being as well, and may increase life expectancy. And it's the act of empathy, which echo what the Buddha taught about 4 holy abidings. And it stimulates the mirror neuron, area F5 in your brain, make you sensitive to other people's needs, like you put yourself in their shoes. And it also generates joy, especially you can see the benefit, what benefit some other people. It creates more joy to you, the givers. And the givers and receiver benefit the relationship as well. And as well as it stimulates the happiness trifecta, serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. Basically, it's the act of empathy, echo the 4 holy abidings, loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. And basically, the serotonin, but it's kind of, it makes you happy, as you see in the new SSRI, it helped to increase the serotonin level. Dopamine give you energy, make you more energetic, and oxytocin make you have, it's a cozy hormone, make you feel happy and in closeness, close relationship, and so on. So this is a picture of one of the walks through that 7 walks we did in the past, and hopefully you can help donate to help Buddhist Global Relief, and 10% of which will come back to the St. Louis area, which we generally give it to food bank, the St. Louis area food bank, or inside Dharma group in the past. And thank you for your attention. I'm done.
Thank you, Dr. Kongsak. Again, the link to donate is buddhistglobalrelief.org. And if you are on the Zoom screen there, and if you pull up the chat, the link to donate is there on the chat.
Can you stop sharing your screen, Doctor? That would be so helpful.
Yeah, I know. It's somehow, okay, I see that now.
Thank you.
No.
There's a red button. Stop. There you go.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the Assistant Director of Buddhist Global Relief. She has been very helpful in organizing our annual efforts here in St. Louis, and we're happy to hear from her in person today, Carla Prater. Carla?
Sorry, I was muted. It's a pleasure to see you though, Leonora, and everyone else that's here today. I have no slides. I just wanted to speak to you for a few minutes. For over 10 years, we have gathered each year to support Buddhist Global Relief's efforts to feed the hungry, coming together to raise funds to support our work and relieve the suffering caused by chronic hunger around the world. These walks have been such fun ways to meet other BGR supporters and spread the word in our communities about the work of BGR, as well as the fundraising mission of the walks. However, due to the pandemic, like other organizations, we have had to make some changes in our operations. And the biggest of these changes has been moving our fundraisers online. So we're really happy that you are joining us in this virtual space. This pandemic, however, is much more than an inconvenience. It's causing ravaged lives and livelihoods all over the world. And it's fueling a hunger crisis in the US and globally. It's estimated that we might be getting 10,000 additional deaths among children each month globally. And an estimated 550,000 children are suffering from wasting, which is a disease caused by extreme malnutrition, just attributable to the pandemic. The anti-hunger organization Feeding America estimates that the COVID pandemic will result in 10 million to 17 million more Americans experiencing food insecurity. That's in addition to the estimated 37 million Americans who experienced food insecurity before the pandemic. Note that that's about 1/10 of the population of this country. In response to this hunger crisis, BGR has already provided more than $54,000 to support food banks and food distribution centers in this country and funded an additional $2,100 in emergency hunger relief internationally. We gather today to help raise more funds for BGR's hunger relief efforts. We're hearing from members of the St. Louis Buddhist community. We will also hear directly from a few of our many organizations that we support, our partners in assistance. And their representatives will give us a peek into the work that your donations support. I think this is going to be the highlight of the day for you. We also have a very meaningful musical interlude to share, and we will be hearing from several of the people who make BGR work, including our founder. And as Dharma practitioners, we understand that all lives are interconnected and that our well-being is not separate from the well-being of all. Our generosity to those in need is an expression of the living Dharma. We hope that you enjoy this brief time we have together and come away with increased understanding of BGR's work and a renewed desire to help us help those most in need, wherever they may be. May all beings share in the benefits. Thank you very much. Now we will be talking to David Broughton, or rather David Broughton will be talking to you. David is the treasurer of BGR, one of the founding members, and David has a long history of work as a professional in the fundraising and charity world. So he brings a wealth of wisdom to the work of BGR, and we're very happy to have David today serve as our MC. So he will be speaking to you now.
Namo Buddhaya. I'm going to do a short presentation giving you a broad overview of world hunger as it currently exists. Can everybody see my screen?
No.
Here.
You need to share your screen.
Yep. There we go.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. Oops.
I spoke too soon. We can't see it yet. Maybe click that share button.
I'll try it again. It was sharing. Let me see. You share.
There's a blue share button down at the bottom.
Yeah, it says I am sharing.
Yeah, but the screen is black.
You may need to choose your screen when you say share.
There you go. There you go. But there seems to be a black square over your window. There you go.
Yeah, that looks great, David.
Now you got it.
Good, good. So the Buddha said, hunger is the worst kind of illness. Yet chronic hunger, never having enough to eat, is the daily reality for 11% of the world's 7.8 billion people. 80% of the world's hungry live in rural areas and depend upon rain-fed farms, herding, or fishing to survive. Their lot is abject poverty, with the very poor making do on less than $1.90 a day. 60% are women who, because they are malnourished and anemic, give birth to babies weighing less than 5 pounds. Babies who, if they survive, are stunted and wasted as toddlers and children, susceptible to disease and injury and a life of suffering. Children who are malnourished often must repeat a grade in elementary school. They experience developmental impairments and have more social and behavioral problems. Children who are malnourished also perpetuate the cycle of hunger as they grow into adults with limited ability to work, and consequently raise families who, like themselves, are also in poor health. Hunger is the #1 cause of death worldwide, and each year accounts for 45% of all child deaths under age 5. From 2000 until 2015, hunger was on the decline globally. And the UN optimistically established a goal of zero hunger by 2030. Yet today, hunger is on the rise again, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, Asia, and South America. The world produces more than enough food to provide for the nutritional needs of every woman, man, and child. So why do so many go without? The answer lies in poverty, political instability and conflict, global warming and climate variability, unequal distribution of income, food access and high food prices. In fact, in Sudan, since COVID-19, the cost of staples have increased 50%, with the average family having to pay 187% of their daily income for food. Obviously, they aren't able to buy enough. And then there are diseases such as COVID-19. The World Food Program estimates that COVID-19 may push upwards to 121 million more people to the brink of starvation. Already, COVID-19 has caused many of the world's poor to lose what meager earnings they had. It has closed schools and forced children to go to work to help support their families. Closer to home, the US Census Bureau reports that here in America, 30 million Americans say they do not have enough to eat. Even in the wealthiest of our communities, like New York City, 1.5 million residents cannot afford to buy food and must rely upon food pantries to survive. But it's not too late. Hunger is a scourge that can be eliminated. Buddhist Global Relief has demonstrated how this can happen if we approach the problem with compassion and right understanding. We can provide direct food aid to people affected by hunger and malnutrition. We can help develop better long-term methods of sustainable food production and management. We can promote the education of girls and women. We can give women an opportunity to start right livelihood projects to support their families. And we can raise awareness of global hunger and advocate for international food systems that exemplify social justice and conduce to ecological sustainability. The Buddha taught that food is the gift of life. He also reminded us that with one's wealth collected justly, one through one's own efforts, one shares both food and drink with beings who are in need. The end of hunger begins with you and me. I hope that you will take action and contribute now. Thank you. And with that, I will turn it back to Carla.
Now we will have our founder and chair, Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, speak about the background of BGR and the history of BGR. I hesitate to give an introduction to Bhikkhu Bodhi because I know he is well known to all of you as one of the foremost scholar monks in this country, if not in the world. And we are privileged to hear from him today. And I would rather give him more time than talk about him. So Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, please begin when you're ready.
Okay, first I would like to thank all of the Buddhist friends from St. Louis who have joined us this afternoon. And particularly, I want to thank Dr. Kongsak and Reverend Jiru from MAPA for providing the spiritual leadership for the organization of this walk, and also to thank Leonora for being the coordinator, as well as all of the Dharma teachers who have come forward to speak this afternoon. I remember in 2013, I came to MAPA to spend about a week there. And at that time, we had the first BGR walk in St. Louis area. And then I came again, that must have been 2017, 2018, I don't remember the year. But we had very good time at that second walk as well. So how did BGR start? It actually started without any intentional effort on my part, but it started in the year 2007. The Buddhist magazine called Buddha Dharma invited me to write an editorial essay. And I pondered, what topic should I write about? And one thing that struck me through my observations of the way Buddhism was developing here in the United States, that it was placing almost the entire emphasis on inward cultivation, on meditation, mindfulness, almost entirely as an internal practice. And at the same time, I was observing through my access to the internet, exposure to so much suffering taking place in the world. And it struck me that it's part of our tasks as Buddhists who are committed to the virtues of loving kindness and compassion, to take concrete action to alleviate the suffering of people around the world. And so I wrote the essay, which was titled A Challenge to Buddhists. And in this essay, I said, and I have it before me right now, I said, a special challenge facing Buddhism in our age is to stand up as an advocate for justice in the world, a voice of conscience for those victims of social, economic, and political injustice who cannot stand up and speak for themselves. This is a deeply moral challenge, marking a watershed in the modern expression of Buddhism. And I believe it also points in the direction that Buddhism should take if it is to share in the Buddha's ongoing mission to humanity. Okay, when that essay was published, I believe it was in the summer issue of 2007, some of my friends and students read the magazine and read the essay and began speaking among themselves about their feeling that it was necessary to take up the challenge posed in that essay. So they started some initial discussions among themselves. Then they brought me into the discussion, and we began to speak about what we should do to help put the great virtue of compassion into action. And after some initial rounds of discussion, we decided to form a Buddhist relief organization. And initially, we gave it a very, very broad mandate. We decided that we were going to address the great problems of human suffering imposed by unjust social systems, by natural disasters, by political oppression, and just about everything else under the sun. But before long, we came to realize that this was just too ambitious a mission for an organization that at that point consisted of about 4 people with no money at all in the bank account. And so we realized that we had to narrow down the mission to something more realistic. And one problem that was constantly weighing on my mind, because of my own experiences living for many years in Asia, was in fact the problem of hunger and malnutrition. I see that there was somebody in the waiting. Okay. And so we decided to take as our mission addressing the problem of chronic hunger and malnutrition by sponsoring projects that would provide food assistance to people in need. So that was the initial mission, or the initial way in which we formulated the mission. But in a short time, we also came to see that if we're going to tackle chronic hunger and malnutrition, it's not sufficient just to provide direct food aid to those who are suffering from hunger and malnutrition, but it's also essential to tackle the very roots of hunger and malnutrition. And the root, you could say the most fundamental root of hunger and malnutrition, is poverty. So to eliminate hunger and malnutrition, or at least to help communities emerge from hunger and malnutrition, it's necessary to help them emerge from poverty. And how could we as a small organization help small communities around the world escape the trap of poverty? One of the most effective methods that came to our attention through reading about chronic hunger and global hunger is by assisting girls to get an education. Because what we learned is that when girls are well educated, they have first a better understanding of nutrition. With an education, they are able to earn more to support their families. With an education, their voices are better respected in their families and communities. And when they are better educated, they will marry later and have fewer children. And in this way, this will help to reduce the stress on limited food supplies. And so we branched off from direct food assistance to helping girls receive an education. And the parallel to this is to help women find ways to address the problem, their problem of poverty. And so a parallel track to providing girls with education is to help women start right livelihood projects to support their families. And since a large number in the traditional countries of the world, in Africa, South Asia, Southeast Asia, a large number of the farmers are actually women. And so we found that it's extremely valuable antidote to hunger, malnutrition, and poverty to help small-scale farmers develop climate resilient, ecologically sustainable models of agriculture. So this became the 4 tracks of BGR projects that I think Kim will be speaking about more fully in a little while. So providing direct food aid to those who are directly afflicted, immediately afflicted with hunger and malnutrition, and then tackling the roots by providing education to girls, by providing right livelihood opportunities for women, and by promoting ecologically sustainable models of agriculture, agricultural projects that enable, that also at the same time provides a way of countering high levels of carbon emissions and thereby climate change. Because one of the main drivers of climate change, responsible for about 30% of total carbon emissions, is the industrial model of agriculture, which is extremely carbon intensive. So we sponsor many projects in Africa, Asia, South America that help these small agricultural communities learn new techniques that are friendly to the environment, friendly to the climate, and also result in more abundant yields of food. So those are some of the ways in which BGR has been working to address the problem of hunger and malnutrition. But what I would say that lies most fundamentally at the base of all of BGR's activities is not so much just a specific mission and specific means of addressing that mission, but a way of putting into concrete action what I would call the mandate, the imperative, the obligation imposed on us by the Buddhist values of loving kindness and compassion. Because loving kindness means that we're intent on promoting the happiness and well-being of people everywhere around the world. Compassion means that we are committed to relieving the suffering of people. And for people to be happy, they have to unfold their latent potentials to live a life which is fulfilling, meaningful, and enables them to make concrete contributions to their own communities and broader societies. And if people are suffering from persistent food shortages, if they're weak, if their bodies are debilitated by lack of sufficient nutrition, they spend their whole day just struggling from one day to the next to get enough to eat. And so much potential, so much human potential goes to waste. There could be potential Einsteins out there, potential Nelson Mandelas, potential Gandhis, potential Buddhas out there who are not able to unfold those potentials because their daily life is oppressed by the struggle to obtain sufficient food. But when people get enough to eat, then they can turn their minds to other things, to meaningful cultural activities, meaningful engagement with their communities, to study, to making contributions to the good of their communities, the good of their societies, and to promoting the well-being of the world. So by addressing chronic hunger and malnutrition, we are helping these communities and the people in these communities truly become lights within their own communities, their own nations, and even looked at from outer space, perhaps, to serve as lights for the world. And so I thank all of you again for arranging and organizing this event. And though we can't meet in person and walk together, but through the benevolence of this technology, we could meet over the internet and share our insights and our aspirations to create a better world. Again, thank you. And now I will ask Carla to come back. Or let's see.
Bonte, if you could say
Oh,
a few words about Kim.
I am
And then
supposed
that's all
Yeah.
right.
Okay, I see now. Okay, now I have to look at the schedule. Okay, so now I've been speaking I think in very sublime and exhilarating words about the work of Buddhist Global Relief and its mission. But when we come to the challenge of putting these wonderful, sublime ideals into practice, it takes a lot of hard work on a day-to-day basis. And for that hard work, which is contributions of the staff members of Buddhist Global Relief, for that hard work to succeed, it takes a very capable person at the helm who's able to organize, coordinate, and harmonize the different people and enable each one to fulfill their maximum talents and potentials. And the person who has really been the live wire at the command center of all of this work that Buddhist Global Relief has been doing is our long-term executive director, and that is Kim Behan. And often I don't have words which are eloquent enough to express the great contribution that Kim Behan has been making, not only, I would say, to Buddhist Global Relief, but to humanity across the face of the world over the last 12 years since she joined our initial team when we established Buddhist Global Relief. She's a person who doesn't like publicity, who always likes to keep in the background. Sometimes I have to push her when we have a meeting to push her out in front of the audience to speak. But really her contributions are, I would say, inestimable. difficult to speak highly enough. And so now Kim is going to speak to us and to introduce us to some of the work of Buddhist Global Relief, the work that she knows so intimately through her day-to-day efforts at her desk at her home. Okay, Kim.
Thank you so much, Bhante, for your very kind introduction. Thank you. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Kansa, Leonora, and the Mid America Buddhist Association for organizing this beautiful event, as well as the St. Louis Sangers for your participation and support of our event. I would like at this point to take a few moments to share the work of Buddhist Global Relief. And if you don't mind, let me share my screen as well as the BGR website. I know Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi has shared the various project areas that BGR has been involved in, but as you can see from our website, let me see if I can minimize this so you can see, yeah. Basically, the mission of BGR is the fourfold. We provide food aid to those afflicted by hunger and malnutrition. And in parallel with food programs, we also provide education to children, especially girls, as well as livelihood, vocational training to women, so essential in the fight against poverty. We also support sustainable agricultural programs, farming programs for small-scale farmers, and most of them are women. And let me share the next screen of basically the geographical location where we serve. Our projects take place in Asia and Southeast Asia, from Mongolia, Cambodia, Vietnam to India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, to Africa, South America, Brazil, Peru, Central America, in Nicaragua, Haiti, and right here in the US. I just want to clarify one thing. Buddhist Global Relief does not have staff on the ground, but instead we form partnerships with organizations working in those countries. And most of the partners that we work with are small grassroots organizations. So let me stop sharing my screen at this point. In 2008, Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi established Buddhist Global Relief, and we started with 3 projects. And today, we sponsor over 40 projects worldwide, thanks to the support of our partners. So today, we're very privileged to have 3 of our partners with us, basically to share work in Haiti, Mongolia, and Brazil. So our first speaker is Dr. Duke from the Art Creation Foundation for Children. Let me share the mission. The mission of the Art Creation Foundation for Children is to empower children to better their lives through the arts and education. BGR has been working with the ACFFC since 2015 for 6 years now, to provide nutritious meals for children in need in Jacmel, Haiti. And for many of these children, this program provides their only meal of the day and help keep them in school. So at this point, we're happy today to be joined by Dr. Duke, Director of Operations of the Art Creation Foundation for Children. Dr. Duke.
Thank you. And I believe that someone there is going to be sharing the slides, and I'll tell you when I need them turned.
Okay.
So pull those slides up, please.
Okay.
We do serve 44 underserved young people, and we employ 9 Haitian staff. Ooh, that's not it.
Do you see it?
Yes, I do. Thank you. And we serve over 16,000 meals each year. We do not have any overhead in the United States. This last year, our staff and young people were faced with unrest in the entire country, resulting in violence that closed the schools and businesses. While none of our students were killed, they had relatives who were killed in that violence. Next slide. Many families live on less than $1 or $2 a day for the entire family unit. And they usually live in a concrete block single room structure with no running water or bathroom. And most cook over an open flame. Our students had just returned to school because of the violence when the virus hit and it made its way to Haiti. There are only 60 ventilators in the entire country of Haiti. So you can imagine how terrified the people are. They just finished last year's schooling at the end of October and started their new year this week. So we are very excited. Next slide, please. We provided daily food through all of this thanks to the Buddhist Global Relief Fund, which then allowed us to offer tutoring at the foundation to keep those students' educational skills active. We never missed a day of providing food for our youth. One young man said, I know if I come to the foundation, I can eat. If I can eat, I can study. Next slide. We put a new roof on our little gift shop near the walkway by the ocean. Next slide. We repaired our truck. So if you have a spare truck around, just let me know. Next slide. We bought a new generator because our electricity has been more sporadic than ever. And usually we only get about 4 or 5 hours a week of electricity. Next slide. Because of the restrictions of 10 people or less being together, our students eat in shifts. When the violence was too great for them to come to the foundation, we took bags of food to them. Next slide. When the cost of propane became too expensive and scarce, we accelerated our solar cooking program. We lined the solar cookers up on the roof of the foundation. Using solar helped offset the huge increases in food costs. And it helped also when we couldn't find propane, but more importantly, it had a positive impact on the environment. Next slide. This was done for several reasons. We wanted to keep our students out of harm's way. We wanted to lessen the spread of the virus, but we also wanted to provide them for different ways that they could cook food using the sun. These food initiatives were made possible because of your support. Because of our food programs, we were able to add a sewing program. If a young person can sew, he or she can get a job. Next slide. To date, the sewing team, comprised of boys and girls, have made almost 1,500 masks, which they distributed to students, caregivers, and the poorest sections of Jacmel. Next slide. They gave these masks to people who would otherwise not have access to these items. They also created a handout stressing the importance of hand washing, social distancing, and the proper way to wear and care for their masks. Next slide. Because of the help of the Buddhist Global Relief Fund to provide food to our 44 young people, boys and girls, we are also able to provide training in baking, solar cooking, sewing, silk painting. Check us out on the Someone Silk Project on Facebook, paper mache, and mosaic. Next slide. So where do we go from here? Because our students know they will receive a hot meal every day when they come to the foundation, then we can begin to teach other skills that will help them to become self-sustaining. Our sewing team is now sewing aprons, which will be sold, giving half to the student and half to the foundation. We'll be starting another 12 students in the solar cooking program this coming month. Our cook and assistant cook lead this program. Next slide, please. Our paper mache team are making turtles and birds and fish. Next slide. Our silk team will be able to showcase their work for purchase at monthly juried art walks in the United States. Next slide. We are hoping to start another mosaic project in Haiti during the holiday break. Because of you, we have 3 young people in college and 3 more will be starting the next school year. 4 girls, and 2 boys. 44 littles will continue their education. Our future goals will be to start new training programs in construction, mechanics, and we're starting container gardening. What are our greatest needs? Food costs have skyrocketed. Propane is scarce. Again, all of our programs are possible because of the grant we receive from Buddhist Global Relief Fund. And we so appreciate all of your support. Next slide. So if you would please follow us on social media. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me and I'll be open for questions or comments. And I'm under my 7 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Duke, for the beautiful presentation. So our next speaker is Donna Rushing from Maitreya Charity. BGR has been partnering with Maitreya for 3 years now, since 2018, to provide meals and school assistance to children in the capital city of Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. We're glad to have Donna Rushing on the board of Maitreya with us today. Donna?
Hello. I'll just get started. I'm going to try to also fit this into 7 minutes. So I'm going to share my screen. And let's see. I'm not finding my proper screen. Hold on a sec.
I have your presentation, Donna.
No, you don't want to be doing my presentation. I need to do it. It's just going to take me a moment. I need to exit the full screen to find it. All right. I am having technical difficulties. Not what I expected. Sorry, you guys.
That's okay. Technical difficulties happen. We're a patient bunch.
I'll tell you what happened is that something called Microsoft Edge just suddenly appeared on my screen, and I don't want it. So I'm trying to get back into the Zoom world here, and it will not let me get rid of it. So it's not letting me click the proper button. Do you have anything you can do for 5 minutes?
I think we might ask you to allow Kim to.
No,
show.
I can share it now.
It doesn't have my updated one.
That's okay, Donna. You can still go through that one and skipping the one that you don't want it. You want me to share now? I can share the screen.
I really would appreciate if you could
Okay.
hold on one moment.
How about this, Donna? Can you see the screen now, Donna? I think you muted now.
I can see it, and it may not fit the slides, but I can do this now.
Okay.
Okay. In 1995, Venerable Panchen Otrul Rinpoche visited Mongolia with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. At the end of his visit, His Holiness asked Venerable Rinpoche to stay, teach, and help the Mongolian people. Since then, Panchen Otrul Rinpoche dedicated himself to his life's career and has continued to visit Mongolia every summer. The Mongolian border's COVID-19 closure causing only the second time he missed going to Mongolia. Venerable Rinpoche's charitable projects continue their work to reach and improve the lives of as many of the poorest children, women, and families as possible. When Rinpoche goes to Mongolia, besides tending to his programs and his religious duties, he visits the prisons, orphanages, and schools, including everyone he can in his umbrella of generosity through the programs of Israel Charity in Ulaanbaatar, Jampaling in Ireland, and Maitreya Charity here in the US. Change the slide, please. Israel's core mission is to prevent children from going onto the streets, to help preserve the integrity of the family, and to create sustainable futures for Mongolian families most affected by poverty. Priority is given to the welfare of children and their mothers. Working closely with local political and community representatives led to a strategy of developing self-sustaining employment projects to prevent the disintegration of poor families. Access to education, medical and family support, skills training, such as organic farming, traditional felting, and entrepreneurship are all priorities. New slide, please. I was going to show you a picture of the Israel building. In 2003, Israel's community center was built in the 9th Koru, Bayangol district, at the heart of one of the Ger districts of Ulaanbaatar. Those round structures that you probably know of as yurts are Gers, and it's just the difference between the Russian word and the Mongolian word. So this was built right in the heart of one of the Ger districts. This a multi-purpose building houses many of Israel's social initiatives, training projects, and community activities, including the Children's Hot Meal Program. This picture was taken from the upper floor of Israel Center. The Mongolian people's traditional nomadic way of life has long been impacted and endangered by both world and regional political, economic, and climate changes. It contrasts with the view of Mongolia in the first slide, herds of animals running freely in an unfenced land, and our notions of the nomadic life, with the reality of a waning lifestyle driving a large part of the population to these Ger districts, which surround Ulaanbaatar, which really started en masse when the Soviet Union came apart. And the infrastructure was left behind in disrepair. Nearly 800,000 people live in Ulaanbaatar's Ger districts alone. That's more than 25% of all Mongolian citizens. The poor living conditions that these people face are especially concerning. Next slide. I feel like I'm on an adventure because I don't know what the next slide's gonna be, because you've got an old version. Making my my lovely 7-minute wish gone. But anyway, this is the kindergarten, a kindergarten. This isn't the one in the Israel Center, but this is in the district. And because Mongolian schools charge fees for their students, we're able to sponsor some of our kids to go to this kindergarten where we can pay their fees and help with their supplies so they can attend this school. Let's see what the next slide is. Here's the menu of, they try to design the meals around having a protein, a grain, vegetables, and fruit juice. And can you read Mongolian? You can see the yummy meals. Okay, next slide. On your left here, we have you can see one of the little boys saying his blessing before his meal and his little hot meal. And on the right, they're using the same room there on a Saturday after the little Buddha class that they have in another part of Israel. And the kids can bring their moms and have them in the class with them and then have a snack with them. Okay, next slide. Keep going. This is inside the Israel Center in a little classroom. And these boys have shown up this morning and had their hot breakfast, and they're working with the teacher. They're ready for school. This is some way they can have sort of a more normal start to their morning. Next slide. This happens to be a visit to the orphanage, one of the orphanages in the state, and Israel Center was delivering some school supplies, and you can see they really were needed. Their little cubbies in the back are all empty, even though they've got, you know, art and work on their walls. Next slide. So these are two boys that are in the especially needy category, where they're in the hot meal programs and getting educational assistance as well, like school supplies, clothes that are appropriate for school. And I just want to tell you a little bit about their story. Their names are Kunu, and this is the younger brother is Barkus. We have a partnership with Jumpa Ling Ireland and with Israel Center to try to sponsor some of the poorest of the hot meal program children. They live with their mother, but it's kind of interesting because they live next door to their grandmother who's disabled, and they're, you know, just as we have learned during our COVID time, poverty, it causes layers and layers of problems. So this family's father died in an accident, and the mother works on shifts in a trauma center. And in order to work her shifts, she has to leave her children. So they actually live in their own small structure next door to their disabled grandmother, who can kind of keep an eye on them, but can't do any of the chores. So this leaves the older boy doing all the chores. For two of them was just everything, like getting the clothes cleaned, going out and making sure they have clean water, building the open fires from coal or wood for their meals. And in spite of this, our staff at Israel Center says these are studious boys that are humble and love math. And because of having that meal every day, they at least have that one hot meal every day, then it takes some of the strain off for them, and they're able to attend school. Okay, next slide. So one of the girls' families, I think, did you skip a slide? Is there one more before this, Kim? No, okay, keep going. So I had a picture of Namuna in here as well, but oh, there she is. So these children are not hers. She's holding 3 of the 4 children that she's in charge of. Her father died, and when her father died in an accident, her mother was suffering from alcoholism and unable to care for her. And so she left, she disappeared, and she's kind of been shuffled around among relatives' homes. And she's kind of the de facto nanny right now, because these children's parents work from 8 in the morning till 10 at night on a construction site. And so Namuna's left to do, as the older brother was in the other batch, she's left to do everything, gathering water, doing the laundering, bathing the children. And she does not have stable housing, because when the family situation changes, she may have to go to another relative's. Next slide. And this on the right was to show you the different types of housing that the Mongolian kids live in. They live in gers, or they live in structures put together with cast-offs, or, you know, things they can gather together. There are also old Soviet buildings. Some have services, some don't. And they're also well-made houses. So it's a real mix. And unfortunately, as is the case in Africa, I'm very interested in that solar cooking idea, because as is the case with Africa, most cooking in these districts is done over open coal or wood fires. Happens to be a bad for the air, but also every year there are some accidents, and that's what the pictures on the left were. They weren't in my new improved slideshow, but it is a reality, and we are able to help when they happen, and we are informed. We are able to help with medical supplies and doctor bills. I'm not sure if there were more slides. I'm sure I've hit 7 minutes and beyond due to my technical difficulties. So I just want to say that these kids want what all kids want. And when you hear the stories from our staff in Ulaanbaatar, they report on them being excited about their learning. One girl was learning the traditional horsehead fiddle, and if they are fed and if they have better living situations, then they can go forward in life. And it means so much to give any amount. And I'm sorry, I'm crying because of the slideshow and the kids. It goes together. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Donna, for the beautiful presentation. Thank you. So our next speaker, our third speaker is Teresa Paris from the Center of Indigenous Work in Brazil. We have been, Buddhist Global Relief has been partnering with CTI since 2019 for 2 years now on projects to support traditional agricultural practices among Guarani women in Brazil. The projects have successfully reduced food insecurity among women and children, help environmental and climate changes, as well as supporting traditional cultural values. We're happy to have Teresa with us today to share the presentation on the project in Brazil. Teresa?
Thank you, Kim. Good afternoon. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Just a minute. I can't see you.
Teresa está mostrando só um pequenininho. Você pode mostrar a apresentação como uma coisa grande?
Espera aí que eu perdi vocês aqui.
Você está me ouvindo?
Tô.
Tá bom.
Eu tô.
Tá bom.
Carla, I could share my screen as well, Carla, if that works.
Teresa, ela pode também mostrar o dela, se você quiser. Mas lá embaixo, do lado direito, tem uma telinha. Se você clicar naquela telinha, o ícone à direita extrema daquilo que você está mostrando lá embaixo, você vê? Tem uma telinha, o ícone pequenininho de tela, lá embaixo, à direita. Clique lá e vê se faz um grande, tá?
Tava tudo certinho, desapareceu.
Eu sei! Não, isso acontece, né?
Carla, I can share my screen, Carla.
Ok, Teresa, você prefere que a Kim pode fazer o dela. E daí, ela, talvez seja mais fácil, tá bom?
Okay, please.
Ok, Kim, please show yours. Okay?
Yeah, but Teresa, I need to stop sharing first.
Ok, você tem que parar. Tem o ícone para stop sharing, né?
Tá.
Acho que tá em... Tá bom, tá joia, obrigada. Agora a Kim vai mostrar e você pode só falar.
Okay, here we are.
Okay, Teresa. Okay, Teresa, we're ready for you to start, okay? Teresa, você tá aí? Como é que... Perdemos a Teresa, será?
Did we lose her, Carla? If not,
I don't know.
You can share.
Não tô vendo. I think she might have dropped off her call. Okay.
Why don't you share then?
Okay, well then, Teresa, você não tá aí, não. Ok, tá bom. All right, well, I'll say what I know about the Centro de Trabalho Indigenista in Brazil then. As you can tell, I'm a Portuguese speaker, so I can understand a lot of what's going on there. This is a large organization that has been helping indigenous tribes all over Brazil for some time. And one of their main efforts is to gain legal title to their land. And another effort that they have is helping to preserve their agricultural traditions and the agricultural, the different types of plants that they have access to that are their historic feeding sources. And so that's sort of a service to the whole world if they preserve their plants. So they are concentrating in this project on feeding children, as you can tell. So can you go to the next slide, Kim? Okay, the Guarani villages are scattered around the south and southeast of Brazil, Mato Grosso do Sul, and Paraguay and Argentina. And the village that I think we're going to talk about today is actually located within the limits of the city of São Paulo, which is one of the largest cities in the world. So you can advance now. This is Guarani planting calendar. One of the things that I have noticed that inspires me so much about this project is actually the cultural part of the project. They are very much trying to preserve their cultural traditions. And as you can see here, they have the names of the months in Portuguese, Novembro, Dezembro, Janeiro, you can tell which those are. And then inside they also have the words in Guarani. So it's a bilingual effort for them. And then they have the pictures showing what plants to be planted in that season. Now you must remember, of course, that Brazil is in the southern hemisphere, so the seasons are reversed. There's also the moon cycle is indicated in this calendar. So carry on. Next slide, Kim. Kim. Next slide, Kim. Okay, now one thing that they do in this project is everything is a joint effort. They have women in charge of the efforts in 5 or 6 different villages, and these women are organizing groups that are going out and preparing the land. And in some places, this land is highly degraded land because it was used for plantations of eucalyptus trees or other planting purposes, and sometimes it's full of a lot of agrotoxic chemicals. And so it takes them sometimes years to get the land back to productive condition. And so they're doing it the old-fashioned way, and they're very concentrated in organic processes and no chemicals, and doing it in a way that the land can actually recuperate and become fertile again, even though it's been degraded by overuse. So this shows one of the work days that they have. Next slide, Kim. Okay, so the sweet potato is a variety of sweet potato. Well, there are actually several varieties of sweet potatoes that are traditionally used. And Gera, the person that I met that is leading this effort in Brazil, she's sort of the on-the-person coordinator for this project. She actually has traveled to several places in South America to collect varieties of sweet potato that are on the verge of dying out. And these are traditionally used by the different native tribes of South America. And this is a particular variety that was very popular among the Guarani. And so they're having great success in bringing back these traditional varieties. Next slide.
Carla, I'm
Você
sorry.
voltou!
Yeah.
Voltou! Então agora você pode falar. Obrigada, tchau.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have a problem here. Okay, I'm going to continue of this slide, okay?
Please do that.
Okay. Well, at this image, we can see the planting efforts, some joint efforts and exchange involving different Guarani indigenous communities were carried out. They provided the exchange of traditional agriculture species, and they spread her agricultural species across the Guarani territory. Some of these species are in danger of being lost if not planted and carried for by different indigenous people in different places of the territory. One of the main agricultural species is the sweet potato. While in supermarkets in large cities we find only one species, the Guarani of Tenondaporã have already managed to rescue more than 40 different types of sweet potato. And the next, please. Okay. Gera, an indigenous woman leader who accompanied this world project, reported that the exchange of experience and the conversations among the indigenous people involved were very rich to think about the future they want to have, what they should to do in ensure a good diet that does not come from the city, but from traditional plantations, to be healthier for their bodies and also for their spirits. She's Laura in this image. One of the villages in which the project was carried out is called Tapemirim. It is run by two women who are sisters called Laura and Beatriz. They seeked out good quality sweet potato species and are teaching many people in their communities about this planting work, about feeding their children and grandchildren and strengthening their ties, our leaders and our sisters. And the next king, please. Okay, she's Bia. Beatriz rescued a great diversity of sweet potatoes and made it to involve everyone in her family. Gera told us that Beatriz was very happy with the project because she comes from a very complicated life story of domestic violence, and now she is in a new village with a good area to plant and with all her children and grandchildren nearby. And now, with a wide variety of good food, such as sweet potatoes. It brought her more autonomy and self-esteem. And to finish the next, she's Leonilda. Leonilda left the village where she lived because she had no space to plant. Everything was very small and the houses were very close to each other, so she was unable to feed her children. Now she has a good area with enough quantity and a good variety of health food without even using chemical fertilizers. For her, this straightening of traditional planting was very revitalizing, and she became able to feed her children with the food planted by herself. And the next, yes, so this that I presented is a little of what is being done. A very beautiful walk, especially by the women in search of greater autonomy and food sovereignty. Well, my English is not very good, but I hope it's enough for you to understand me. Okay, thank you. And sorry for the problem here.
I'm glad you were able to come back, Teresa, and finish up, because I knew the general part about the project, but I didn't know the particulars of the women that you talked about. So it worked out just fine. Thank you very much. And now back to Kim.
It was very helpful, Carla and Teresa. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I hope, so this, with this talk, we basically conclude the project portion of the event. We hope that you enjoy the inspiring presentations from our partner organizations and the impact of your support on the lives of so many women and children around the world. Please visit BuddhistGlobalRelief.org to find out more about our projects. And please consider making a gift today to help those in need at this very critical time. Thank you so much for your support. And now we're back to Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi to introduce the musical interlude part. Bhante.
Okay, so now before we begin the Dharma talks, we're going to have a little, am I on? Oh, okay.
Yes, you're on, Bhante.
Okay. Yeah, before we begin the Dharma talks, we're going to have a little musical interlude, but please don't think that this is a time for you to run off and take a little intermission, because this is something that's going to be very beautiful, very deeply moving. This is a Dharma song composed and played by my friend, Reverend Hung Shi, who is a senior American monk in the Chinese tradition of Master Xuan Hua, and also a very, very skilled musician. And he has a song based on the story of Sunita, one of the monk disciples of the Buddha, which comes from the Therigatha, the poems of the ancient Buddhist monks. And so now we're going to present this song, composition and performance by Reverend Hung Shi. Don't have sound.
For the National Buddhist Global Relief Action to Feed the Hungry. I'm honored to be here as one of the founding Sangha advisors to Buddhist Global Relief to contribute this song for this action to raise awareness of global hunger and hunger right next door. This is the story of Sunita, which comes from a collection of autobiographical poems, possibly one of the oldest layers of biographical poetry in the world, written among the Buddha's senior disciples, known as the Therigatha, the songs of the elder Buddhist monks. Sunita was an outcast. He was a Chandala. He was a Harijan, a child of God, now known as a scavenger, the lowest caste. And his father disappeared when he was a child. He had a dysfunctional family. He was a beggar. He had to support his own life by going to pujas, going to ceremonies, and when they were done, he would pick up the broken flowers and any leftover food, sell what he could, and throw the rest away. But he had one redeeming practice that carried him through, which was he made ritual prostrations. He bowed, and he bowed to his future awakening. He didn't know he was going to meet the Buddha, but when he did, his life changed. I was born poor in a lowly family. Father disappeared. There was little to eat. My work was degrading. I gathered withered flowers from the shrines. I sold what I could, threw the rest away. People found me disgusting, and they despised me. They just ignored me, or they looked away. The pain of rejection hurt as much as the hunger, but I lowered my heart and I bowed every day. Then I saw the great hero entering the city, the greatly awakened one, with his monks in line. The most supreme of the Magadans, walking like a lotus, pure and refined. Now, being an outcast, for Sunita to draw near the Buddha, who was a kshatriya, the warrior, the ruler class, if the shadow of an outcast touches the body of a Brahmin or a kshatriya, the legend says they can never wash it clean. And the upper caste person is within his rights to beat him, kick him to the curb, or do him physical harm. Sunita, because of his practice of bowing, sees the Buddha and takes his chance. I lost all fear. I set down my pole and baskets. I drew near and I wanted to bow. And then he, the conqueror of Mara, stopped the line. He stood still out of kindness just for me. After showing reverence at the feet of the teacher, I stood to one side and I said these words. O great sage, supreme among all beings, may I take refuge and leave home with you. The compassionate teacher raised one hand in a blessing with the sound of kindness for all the world. He said, "Come, monk." That was my ordination. I left home and my new life began. Now, if this were a movie, the scene would show a lonely hut high in the mountains and Sunita cultivating as a hermit, following the Buddha's instructions out in the wilderness. Now I live alone here in the mountains. I never tire. I cultivate the way, following my teacher's words, just as he taught me. With one mind, by night and by day. As the sun went down, I entered Samadhi. I saw my past lives, I opened my heavenly eye. Just before dawn, I broke through the mass of darkness. To the state of the deathless, I did certify. Oh, the night was ending, and the sun was returning. Indra and Brahma paid their respects to me. With the palms together, shining light, the way gods do with eloquence, they said these words to me. One of the beautiful ironies of Sunita's verse is, here are Indra and Brahma, chief among gods, higher even than the human Brahmins. And what do? They want to celebrate Sunita's accomplishment, never mind his worldly caste. What do the chief among gods say? Homage to you, thoroughbred of humans. Homage to you, human supreme. Your afflictions have ended, all your suffering is over. You, dear sir, are worthy of offerings. Now, the penultimate verse of Sunita's biographical poem brings the Buddha back into the scene, and there's some ironic social commentary here as the Buddha claims Sunita a true Brahmin, not by birth, not by parentage, not by social status, but by inner virtue, by wisdom and compassion. Upon seeing me, venerated by the Devas, the teacher smiled, and he proclaimed, through austerity, celibacy, restraint, and self-control, he became a Brahmin. Sunita is a Brahmin supreme. The story of Sunita.
Are you on Zoom meeting?
We're live. Mada.
まだ。
うん。
じゃあ後にするわ。
Leonora, now we would like you to introduce the
So-
the presentation by Confluence Zen Center, please.
Oh, wow. Wasn't that amazing musical performance? It's so interesting to see the Dharma presented in individual ways to diversify the message of the Buddha. And again, I'd like to remind you of the link to donate and support the amazing projects funded by BGR is BuddhistGlobalRelief.org. So moving to our local presenters. First up, we have Confluence Zen Center led by Reverend Daigaku Rume. He is joined by Kathy Albers for a Tai Chi presentation to get everyone moving a bit and take a break from sitting still. Reverend Daigaku.
Thank you, Lenora. And thank you to everyone for participating in this year's St. Louis Buddhist Action to Feed the Hungry. The teaching of Zen, which is one school of Buddhism, is that all people can awaken to the essential oneness of things, thereby bringing an end to suffering. Zazen, or seated meditation, which is the foundation of our practice, is simply to be one with sitting. However, the larger objective of Zen practice is to realize that our life, as well as death, takes place within Zazen, and that we are always one with every activity in our lives and always have been. And still, we are here today to remind ourselves that in the course of this pandemic, close to 50 million Americans will need food. Thank you for your donations today. I'm sure many of you are ready to get up and stretch. How about it? Kathy Alberts, one of our members, is here with us today to show us some movements to help us get our chi moving.
Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me. I'm kind of far away. I would like everyone to stand up. This is only a 5-minute presentation, so I'd like you to participate and move. It's gentle, it's easy. I'm in my 34 years of learning and practice, I've chosen to show you some movements of Tai Chi Chuan. So the first one is a grounding movement. It's called the rocking motion, and your feet are going to be about parallel apart. And you're just going to be transferring your weight forward to your toes, or the balls of your feet rather, and then back onto your heels. Now this one is really easy to go off balance. So if you need to hold on to something, that's perfectly fine. So we'll just do a few of those. The breath is natural. Your back is straight. Your head is though suspended from above by a fine silk cord. Your knees are soft, and we call this the effort of no effort. So when we finish, when we close with this one, we'll do two more. This one's one. And as I'm closing, I'm just going to bring my feet back together and we go into a position called rest. My hands are parallel to the floor. My knees are soft, but a little bent. And we're going to go into the next movement. 5 minutes goes fast. So we're holding a ball, like a chi ball, and I'm sinking out. My hands flap out. I'm going to do this every third time. My hands, as I flap out, are going to do a wrist circle. And we come back. So again, 2 regular. Be kind to your knees and don't bend too far. Wrist circle. One more time, we're going to do a set of these. 1. Breathing, just natural breath. And again, the final one, a wrist circle. Coming back to a rest. My hands are parallel to the ground. Knees are soft, but a little bent. Enough time to take a nice, slow, deep breath. So the next movement I'm going to show you is a forward and back, moving energy back and forth between transferring your weight. So I'm stepping out with my left foot. It really doesn't matter which you do first. And if you're seated, just rock your body back and forth and gently trace an imaginary platter in midair. So as I move my body forward, I'm putting weight into a softly bent knee, and my heel actually comes up in the back. And my toes come up in the front when my weight is back. So I'm actually transferring weight and lifting heels and toes, which is unheard of in most Tai Chi and Qigong practices. But in this one, it seems to work. I'm going to do one more on this side. And coming to a close, back into that rest spot. Now step out with your other foot and go the opposite direction. So I've got my right foot forward. I'm going counterclockwise. Relaxed wrists, relaxed hands. Back is straight. Knees are softly bent and straight. And we're going to do one more. And the final thing that I'm going to show you is a gentle breath. You're going to sink a little, come up above your head, sinking, going up and out. My toes are, I'm reaching out 3 times. Ruffling up all that chi energy above my head. I don't know if you can see my hands. And then I stop. The breath. And then sinking, going up and out again 3 times. Yeah, I don't think you can see my hands. And final, we're coming down. It's okay. That final rest. And then the culmination of all the rests, it's called a cosmic consciousness pose. And I've got my left heel gently resting on my right ankle. My hands are in front, about chest level. And I know you're holding your arms up, but as effortless as you can, doing that, just taking a nice deep breath. And thank you very much. Thanks for participating with me.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Leonora.
Thank you. That was amazing. It felt so good to get up and move around a little bit. That was awesome. Okay. So thank you, Reverend Daigaku and Kathy. So next up is a presentation by Dr. Don Sloan, a senior lay teacher at Mid-America Buddhist Association in Augusta, Missouri. Don Yeye.
So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see all of you in all your virtual splendor. Because of our time, I'm going to shorten my presentation to just a few minutes. We're running a little bit late, and that's fine because the words that I have cannot express how important and inspiring it has been to hear and see the presentations from Haiti, Mongolia, and Brazil. I'm so thankful to those of you who put your presentations together and shared them with us, because this is really very powerful. Thank you to everyone for allowing us to see more clearly what Buddhist Global Relief is about. Most of the people in St. Louis already know about MABA. I'll say a few words at the Mid-America Buddhist Association and Monastery. It's located on 76 acres in Augusta, Missouri, only about 35 minutes from West County. And it's a beautiful drive through the wooded hills along the Missouri River Valley. And of course, right now, the monastery is closed to the public as we patiently await the end of the coronavirus. In normal times, MABA is actively involved in providing a calm and peaceful place for meditation and communion with nature. We actively engage with the community in the Midwest in food and clothing drives, ministering to the sick and providing teachings and retreats on Buddhist practices. And of course, we've welcomed Bhikkhu Bodhi twice to give teachings in conjunction with the Buddhist Council's participation in the BGR's annual Walk to Feed the Hungry. On our property, we have wonderful structures, a meditation hall, a men's dormitory, female dormitory, a large community building of 12,000 square feet, a Dizang hall for the ashes of those who have departed. We even have an area for pets to be buried as well. We have Sudana Pavilion for children, Guanyin Pavilion. So those of you who have had the opportunity to come to MABA, I hope that soon you'll be able to come again. And if you've never been, please put that on your list of places to come and visit when the time is right. I want to just say that I was going to give a presentation on generosity, but I'm going to be generous and just give the time, because time is very valuable. And actually, Dr. Kongsak gave a wonderful presentation about the research on generosity. So I feel very complete in being able to just say that the Buddhist Global Relief exemplifies the virtue and practice of generosity, and we're thankful to have the opportunity to participate in this noble effort to help communities around the world. Thank you all for your generosity, and thanks to all who are participating. So I wish you all a good day. Thank you for your kind attention, and I yield my time back to Lenora.
Thank you, Don Yeye. So we're going to have an opportunity again to stretch and get our blood moving with our next presentation by Heartland Zen Center. Director Dr. Will Holcomb is joined by Elizabeth Tucker for a body awareness and yoga session. Will? Do we have Will?
So sorry. Thank you all for being here. I'm very happy to be here with all of you. The images and the presentations given by those telling us more about the work of BGR, I think have touched the heart. And awareness of body, awareness of mind, intimacy with 10,000 things, generosity of heart, all are interconnected. So Elizabeth Tucker is going to lead us in a short session of Yin Yoga.
Thank you, Will. I am going to ask that everyone comes to a seat if you're not already sitting. You can either just be sitting on a chair or even a couch, but if you can just come to the edge of whatever you're sitting for visibility, I'm sitting on a little table, but it would be best if it was a chair or couch or something that you feel stable on. As Will mentioned, we'll be doing Yin Yoga, which is the lesser known yoga here in the United States, but it is, as you might guess, if you're familiar with Yin and Yang, it is much more of a still practice. And so we'll actually only be doing one pose today, although we will have a couple of things that we'll do here over the next few minutes. But the poses, there will only be one. And the idea with Yin is really to have one pose or several poses in an hour that are held for a period of time. And that in that stillness, we can focus on our breath and the activity of the mind. So we'll just take a moment here to settle in to the current moment. And one way we're going to do that is just to do a little bit of breathing together. So you can see here that I'm positioned so that you can see the shape of my spine. And we're going to just take a few breaths where we are inhaling and exhaling while moving the spine. So we're going to inhale, creating an arch in the spine, and then we're going to exhale. So inhale, round, and exhale the opposite direction. Inhale, round. Exhale, arch. Inhale, round. Exhale, arch. Inhale, round. Exhale, arch. And we're going to release that practice and just take a moment here to feel our bodies in this space. So not a lot of movement here, but instead maybe either looking directly in front of you or closing the eyes, letting the eyes be still. Becoming aware of where your body meets the chair or couch. Getting curious if there's one part of the body that has more or less pressure than another part of the body. For example, does the right side have more or less pressure than the left side? Or does the left side have more or less pressure than the right side? Or are they equal? And now opening the eyes if they are closed and getting ready to stand up. And in this, I'm going to ask that you have a prop, but the prop can either be a chair. I have a chair that I'll use as an example here, or it can simply be the wall. So either one of those things, if you would like more pressure in this pose, you might consider the chair if that is readily available. And if you would like less, you can go a little bit higher up on the wall. So I recommend the wall as your prop. But just take a moment here, and I'll wait for you to be able to get whatever you need to find the right prop to support you in this. So I'm going to go ahead and just use the wall, but you can adjust the cues that I'm giving you if the chair is what you're using. So whether or not you're putting your hands either on the top of the chair or the wall, what we're going to do here is use this and get far enough away from the wall that we can actually lean forward. Now, the objective here is to actually get our head in between our arms. But if that doesn't feel quite right, or if you have any kind of shoulder injury, do not force it, and just make sure that you're protecting your body and not forcing anything. It should not feel any kind of pain. Now, while holding this pose, just taking a moment to get curious about the relationship between the head and the neck and the shoulders. Just getting curious about how all of them affect each other. As you apply more or less pressure into the hands, how does that affect the shoulders? How does that affect the neck? And then slowly coming out of this pose, taking a step forward, and then just turning and coming to a standing position here for just a moment, allowing yourself in the rebound to just be present to whatever is. Allowing the mind to settle on the breath, watching the inhale and exhale as it enters and leaves the body. And when you're ready, you can release that practice.
No, you don't look at the statistics. I won against these two people who played a lot. Here's what you do. On the first round, with the
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And back to Leonora.
And you know how you see the little take her.
It has the statistics on every hand.
Oh, this is extra. Give it to one of them.
Thank you to the Heartland Center for getting Thank you to the Heartland Center for getting us moving and breathing. Next, we have a discussion with Reverend, Dr. Ruslan Yoshida. Dr. Yoshida.
Lenora, could you unmute yourself? We had somebody, I just had to mute everyone. I couldn't stop it
Okay.
the other way. And I stopped the screen share so I could get to the controls. So if we could start over and everyone could be aware that we can hear everything. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry everyone for that little technical glitch there. And
Yeah.
thank you to the Heartland Zen Center for getting us moving and breathing. Next up, we'll have a short discussion with Missouri Zen Center Director, Dr. Rosan Yoshida. Dr. Yoshida.
Please unmute yourself, Dr. Yoshida.
Dr. Yoshida, if he's not available, we
He
might
is
just.
available. He was just here. Give it a second.
Okay.
May I have a need to
Well, he might have disappeared. I can't seem to find him now. Maybe he.
No,
Mary Helen, I see him, but you need to ask him to unmute himself.
I did ask him, but I
Dr.
did.
Yoshida,
I also
please unmute.
signaled him.
Okay, I think it's okay now.
yeah.
Great.
Yes, thank you.
All right. The hunger problems will become more serious due to the pandemic, global warming, etc. It will never end, even if we donate a small amount of money, unless we change the present system of civilization, of all political system. Recently, the World Beyond War put up a billboard in St. Louis telling that 3% of the military budget will solve starvation. Worldwide, we can stop it by just shifting 1% of the military budget for it, especially abolishing the most urgent and critically needed abolition of nuclear weapons, avoiding the situation of man can wipe out the whole life on the earth, while the nuclear weapons ban treaty is set to be effective. To do so, we must awaken to the global problems and engage a wide range of political, economic, social, and cultural movements to change our individual life, style, social behavior, global system. We must shift our paradigm from ego to echo, nationalism to globalism, militarism to lifeism. That is, taking all life forms and life system into consideration, and to bring them into the holy, wholesome state, which has been the great ideal of all Buddhists. We must shift from karma to dharma, the universal truth and essence, from unnatural, unidirectional, pyramidal civilization to natural, cyclical, life indolent culture. This means from the 5 calamities of delusion, bondage, discrimination, exploitation, destruction, to the 5 blisses of awakening, freedom, equality, love, and peace, which all living beings wanted to live with. We must witness, we have witnessing the
whole world is advancing toward such goals, slowly but steadily. So let us work together to change the world for the better through our striving in daily actions with our great striving and achievement, aspiration, sorry. Thank you all for your precious efforts in so many areas with direct work with so many people all over the world.
Thank you, Dr. Yoshida. We are joined next by Reverend Kailyn Mcallister from Inside Dharma, a prison outreach group, and she will be sharing a prison story. Do we have Reverend Kailyn in the house?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to share a story. It's a true story about what happened to me when I first started going into prison. It was up at Bowling Green, Missouri, and it was my first prison experience. And we would meet on Tuesday night, which happened to be the same night that the Native Americans would meet. We would go to the main chapel, which in prison is just a room. And the natives would come in and they would get their stuff out of a locker and they would move out to the dining room to do their service while we stayed into the main room. The first night I was there, when the two services was over, both groups came back to the main chapel room to put their stuff away in the locker. And we stood by the door and waited for movement to be called. When the prison finally called movement, one of the natives hung back. He didn't leave with the rest of them. He was leaning against the door. And when I went to leave, he told me with this very straight, expressionless face, he said, "Najoko na ilo." I turned to him and said, "I'm sorry, but I don't understand you." His face remained expressionless and he said nothing more. So I left. Well, this happened every week, Najoko na ilo. And I repeated that I didn't understand. Nothing changed. A friend of mine was a Native American and I decided to get her help. So I convinced her that she should come to prison and do the Native American group. But before she could go in, she had to send in an application. They had to go through training, get TB tests. It was months before they would allow her to come in. And every week during this time at the closing, I would hear Najoko na ilo. Finally, about 6 to 8 months later, she was approved. I was so excited. Not only would I have my good friend to ride up with me and eat dinner with, but I might finally solve the mystery. So I did the Buddhist service and she went off with the Native American service. And when they were over, both groups again came back to the chapel. Then the prison called movement and there he was leaning against the door. "Najoko na ilo," he said. We walked out and down the walkway. We didn't get very far when my excitement overcame me and I turned to her and said, "Okay, what did he say?" She looked at me with a slight frown and said, "I don't know. He's Apache, I'm Shawnee. Our groups were in different parts of the country entirely, and so there was never a need to communicate. I have no idea what he said." Well, needless to say, I was crushed. All this waiting and waiting, and I still didn't know what he was saying. It was over. But not really. Vicky was good with languages, and after months and months, she finally said to me on the drive home, "Hey, I think I know what he's saying." "Wow, what? Well, she said, he's kind of wishing you a safe trip home. He's saying, don't fall off your horse." I laughed until I could laugh no more. But then I thought of what an appropriate thing to say. Don't fall off your horse. It had so many meanings on so many levels. It was great wisdom. I told the story many times, and after people stopped laughing, I kind of got serious with it, and I wanted to talk about one level of understanding I came to. When we sit in meditation, we are quiet. Our body is still and the mind follows. We sit in silence and soon we become unaware even of the body. We are peaceful, contented, and we can even go beyond and lose the feeling of separateness. The body border disappears and we become much, much larger. I think that riding the horse is this very thing. There is no rider, no horse, we are one. We are flying across the field with the wind in our hair, or no hair as it may be, at peace, contented. When we become the force that is referred to in Star Wars. We become the master in the Karate Kid, the grasshopper in Kung Fu. We let go of our individual egos and become much, much larger. My teacher, Shokin, always says, can you just stand up in this very moment? Can you stay on the horse no matter what you are facing? If the horse suddenly stops, can you stay on the horse? If it turns to the right, suddenly, can you stay on the horse? If the ride becomes painful, can you stay on the horse? Life is like this. Zen practice is this. Just standing up or staying on the horse and facing whatever is directly in front of you. This is the meaning of life. There's no judgment, just stay on the horse. Na joko na ilo. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Reverend Kailyn. What a lovely story.
Francesca, you want to stop sharing your screen?
So we are nearing a close to our program. Thank you. We're running a few minutes behind, so we thank you for staying with us. So I would just like to finish up my portion before we get our dedication of merit from Bhante Bhikkhu Bodhi. We appreciate everyone who joined us today, and we are grateful to all of our presenters for their enlightening and informative presentations. As this global pandemic has taught us, hunger can afflict those in faraway countries, but our friends and neighbors can fall victim to food insecurity as well. Buddhist Global Relief has brought vital assistance to some organizations leading the charge to help economically disadvantaged people achieve the conditions to be able to feed themselves. The fact that BGR funds grassroots organizations in the areas that need assistance is really key. Many charity organizations may have had good intentions and tried to help in ways they felt would improve conditions in poor countries without helping in ways that actually make a real difference. I remember hearing a story years ago of an organization that went to Africa and tried to train men on improving farming methods. However, in that area, it was the women who actually did the farming. So these efforts to teach the men were futile. So people living in their communities are in a better position to use resources most efficiently. I hope you'll join me in visiting buddhistglobalrelief.org/donate and giving what you can to help alleviate the suffering of those less fortunate. I wish you all the blessings of the Triple Gem and a lovely rest of the day. Bhante, will you please lead us in a dedication of merit?
Okay, so now we're coming to the end of the afternoon's program. So first, before we wrap up, I want to thank everybody who's participated in the program here this afternoon. Again, to thank Dr. Kongsak and Mappa for being the sort of spiritual mobilizers of this online gathering, for Leonora for being the coordinator, for the representatives of our partner organizations, the BGR partner organizations for participating, and the representatives of the different Buddhist and Dharma centers in the greater Los Angeles area for joining us this afternoon. And so the way that I like to do the dedication of merit is as a short meditative practice, a kind of guided meditation. So take a comfortable, convenient meditation sitting posture with the eyes closed. And then in your mind, let your imagination sweep over the world and bring to mind all of the people. According to the statistics that I've read, some 800 million people who are suffering from chronic hunger and malnutrition. Sweeping the mind over Mongolia, Southeast Asia, India, countries in Africa, Latin America, Haiti, and even here in the United States, where about 40 million people face a day-to-day struggle just to find sufficient food to feed themselves and their families. And then let the mind, or the heart rather, be stirred by compassion for people whose lives are enveloped, pursued, pressed by this constant shortage of adequate food. Bring to mind all of the people whose potentials for developing their higher faculties, for leading lives of meaning and of value and purpose, all are stunted because they can't obtain sufficient food, and their whole day after day is just dedicated to obtaining enough food to survive to the next day. So let those thoughts sink deep into the heart and stir that warm flow of compassion in the heart. Then bring to mind the people that are benefiting from the projects that have been launched by Buddhist Global Relief. Some of them we've seen this afternoon. The children in Mongolia, in Ulaanbaatar, who are able to receive hot meals and assistance with their education. Children in Vietnam, Cambodia, who are receiving scholarships through the work of Buddhist Global Relief, together with its partners. Widows in the Punjab in India, women whose husbands committed suicide because of their debts, who through BGR projects are being taught skills by which they could earn money to support their families, their children. Pregnant women and new mothers in several African countries, Kenya, the Côte d'Ivoire, who through BGR projects are receiving instruction in proper nutrition and nutritional supplements so that they can deliver healthy babies and so that they will be healthy in bringing up their children. Single mothers in Cameroon who are receiving vocational training to bring up their families. Children in Haiti who are being helped with meals so that they can attend school. The indigenous women in Brazil who are being taught how to preserve their traditional foods. Poor girls in Nicaragua who are receiving assistance to attend school, and some even going on to college and university. And right here in the United States, where BGR has been making contributions each month of $3,000 to the Feeding America project to assist food banks, helping people that have gone hungry because of the COVID virus. And so bring all of these, the beneficiaries of these projects to mind, and let us rejoice in the success that these projects are having, the transformative, uplifting impact on thousands and thousands of people. And let us rejoice in the happiness and the relief of the people that we've been assisting with these projects. And then let us rejoice in our own efforts, our own work, in whatever way and at whatever scale we're contributing to the fulfillment of this work. Especially, we should mention the BGR team who is with us this afternoon. Kim Behan, the executive director, Carla, who is the assistant director, Mary Helen, who helps with our production, our artistic newsletter production, and in many other ways. And all of you, just rejoice in your own contribution to the program this afternoon. And it doesn't hurt to congratulate yourself and to feel joy at doing something that is good to help others. So let that joy seep into the heart, uplift the heart, but also strengthen the determination to do further, to take further action, and to do whatever we can to alleviate the suffering of people around the world who could have been our own parents, our sons and daughters, our brothers and sisters. And even if we can help in a little way, we should make the effort to do so. And so I want to close the program this afternoon by reciting some verses of blessing in the Pali language, calling upon the spiritual power of the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, to protect you and to protect your families. Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sada soti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada soti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakantu sabba devata sabba sanganubhavena sada soti bhavantu te. Okay, again, thank you, and may all blessings be with you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Bhante.
It's been wonderful to
Thank you,
be with
Bhante.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Goodbye. My husband is waiting for me to have lunch.
Okay.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And
Thank you,
thank you,
Bhante.
Okay,
Bhante,
bye-bye.
Thank you. See you in the class.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We were so much better.
Thank you, Lenora. Master said thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
Mary.
thank you, Lenora. It was a very great job. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
Mary and Kailyn.
Thank you, all the venerables.
Thank you.
Maybe next year we'll be back together again.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Lenore. So
Yes.
glad to meet you at this event.
Yes, thank you for all your help. Really appreciate it. Made it for a wonderful online event. Really enjoyed it. Couldn't have done it without you.
Thank you for your support.
Yes, yes.
Welcome to St. Louis.
Yes, anytime. Plenty of room at Maba always.
So Bhante, we can
hope
plan
to see
our next
Bhante can come back here again.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe next year, if possible.
Very glad to hear that.
Thank you, Venerable Khonshu.
Thank you.
Thank you, May Helen, our tech host. Thank you so much, Bhante.
Yeah, thank you.
Everyone.
Bhante has been working so hard this fundraising season. Thank you.
Okay, so.
Okay.
Should we
Okay.
end the meeting? I can end
Yes.
the meeting. Have a
Yes.
good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Kim, I'll talk to you soon. I have to go to
Okay.
another meeting now,
Yeah.
so
Okay, thank you, May Helen. Yeah.
bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
You.